Hi, this is Don Matteo, and you are listening to the Orta Know Better podcast. Let's do this.
You look like fucking Brolin, you're a Leeds eating bastard.
Look like some sort of fucking weird floating head. No.
You tend to play it a bit, innit?
I mean, I feel a bit right, dickhead.
Nothing spectacular, really.
Well, as you can see there, Alan, it's a bit of a daft podcast, not a factual, serious thing. But thanks for joining me. You are Alan Gibson, the editor of JSoccer Magazine.
Hi. Arigatou gozaimasu.
That's the only Japanese I've got for you is konnichiwa, so I won't be able to converse much in that.
It's konbawa now. Good evening. Yeah, welcome. It's almost 11 p.m. here, and the news of Ao Tanaka hitting Leeds United is subject to medical, is it? I'm not sure, but
yeah, that's it. He landed this morning by the looks of it. We've got all the Leeds United jet watchers are out there. I just want to thank you for joining me, first of all, and giving up your time, especially late at night. It's we've got a live pod going out after this at some point, but obviously with the time difference there, I thought we'd jump on and just sort of get your thoughts while we can. It's what most people look like when watching our pod, to be fair. But I just wanted to sort of find out really a bit about Ao Tanaka, whether firstly I'm pronouncing his name correctly, and secondly, what sort of qualities we should expect him to bring to Leeds.
well, firstly, let's get his name right. If you imagine you're James Brown. Ow! Okay.
Yeah.
Ao
So it's
Tanaka.
Ao Tanaka. Okay, fair enough.
Tanaka Ao. I'm sure they'll be calling him Ao. Or
I'm sure they
Ao
will.
Tanaka. Ao Tanaka.
The fan channel will probably be AO Let's Go.
Let's go. Yeah,
I reckon so.
If it fits, go for it. You know.
Well, exactly, yeah.
Excellent. I like him. He's a great player. He played in the Kawasaki Frontale youth system for about 10 years, since he was like 7 or 8 years old. And he went to the same school and grew up at Kawasaki Frontale with Kaoru Mitoma. So if he does half as well as him at Brighton, I think you'll be on for a good thing already.
I think we'll be
Kawasaki Frontale have been churning out players and then letting them go cheaply for years. Rio at Celtic is also quite a star up there. He was in the same youth team and the same team as well. So and there's a guy in Portugal at Sporting CP Lisbon, Hidemasa Morita. And in fact, they a right back called Yamane has just moved to America as well. So I mean, this team has been churning out nicely. Yep, they've been churning out players well, and I think he's as good as, but completely different as the Matomas and the Hatates that you've got already. So I think he's going. I think you got a good thing coming.
Okay, that's something I was going to ask, actually. It's like a lot of people seem concerned by the fee and the fact it's very low, which some people seem to be equating to that means he's not a good player because he's too cheap. What would you sort of say to that?
Yes, I've seen some pessimism already on some of the comments on the X.
There's a lot of that in our fan base.
I've seen it regularly. It's the opposite of Japan, actually. We're not critical enough. I mean, just take it as it comes, and everything's fine, and the players are usually getting a clap at the end, even if they lost 5-0. I'd like something in the middle, bit in the middle, really. No, he's great. I think the fact that he's cheap. Yeah, I mean, these days that is cheap, isn't it? I mean, that's a bargain. I couldn't believe he wasn't like 10 or 15 million. They had a clause of about 3 million or less. The clause was to go.
Something like that. I think about 3 million euros.
I think he's been on the cusp of a move to the Bundesliga, and even I heard Premier League teams were interested for a couple of years. But in the case of the Bundesliga, I think both times that he was about to go, it seemed, and at one point he even missed the Japan national team squads because he was ready for the move, and then it didn't happen. He got an ankle injury, and of course, medicals. So
that's
I
the
think
thing, isn't it? You never know with these things.
And in Premier League teams until about the last year, and there's been a rule change in England, which you presumably know about, that the lesser teams can have foreign players from outside the EU now, so that helps a lot. But also in the Premier League,
I didn't realise that.
Yeah, I heard. I mean,
an extra player.
You guys might know better, but as far as I could see,
we should do, but we probably won't.
It was 3 in the championship. Now 3 players from outside the EU, I think it was, or 3 players that wouldn't normally qualify for a working visa. And in the first and second division, in my day, the third and fourth division. Sorry, I've been away too long. 2 players, and in the Premier League, because Japan are now in the top 20 of FIFA, the international players can get working visas a lot easier. So we've finally seen a lot of players, which is great. I think to be honest, I think he's good enough for the Premier League, and who knows, he might be there next season with Leeds United, right?
Well, all being well, that's the plan. I mean, I think there's going to be a couple more to come, but he certainly seems like someone that would help us in that regard. I mean, we sold Glenn Kamara, and he was quite a sort of sideways and backwards kind of player. Is Tanaka similar to that, or is he more progressive, would you say? Do you think he'll be more involved in attacking?
He's definitely good at passing sideways. He's a good central midfielder. He's big enough. I think he's 180 centimeters or 6 foot or so, and strong enough to be pushed around.
We do lack height.
Yeah. I mean, the Japanese are obsessed by height, and he's taller than the average Japanese, shall we say? So that's good.
Okay.
He's ready to stick a foot in when needed. Not quite like the Don Revy teams of the 1970, but he's not a Norman Hunter.
You can't get away with much of that today.
He can get stuck in a little bit, and he gets in the way, breaks up the opposition, so he can play defensive midfield. But he can also create chances. He finishes well when he gets the chance. I think he scored 8 goals in 31 appearances for Fortuna last season. He scored 8 goals in 21 appearances for Japan, many of those as a sub or subbed. So he scored in the World Cup too. He scored against Spain in the World Cup, which was a nice thing to see.
Yeah,
and I think the fee, if you could go back to the question that I didn't really answer, I think it's a bargain because he's not really known well enough, and because of the injuries that he had at the wrong time, and I believe he's over them, but we'll see from the medical soon, that the timing wasn't right. So he sort of slipped under the radar, and he's in the Japan national team. He's in the shadow of Wataru Endo, who's playing for Liverpool right now. So he's sort of and also the guy at Sporting CP in Portugal is probably the next choice for the central midfield role. Japan usually play 2, but sometimes they'll play 3. So he's the first reserve for Japan, for want of a better word.
Okay.
So he's not the star. So he slips under
for a championship club. It's not a bad sort of guy to be getting in, is it? I'm
thinking, well, if he succeeds nicely and you don't get promoted, you probably get 10 or 15 or 20 million for him next year. So who knows,
Well, there'll be no doubt he'll be going if we don't get promoted. Everybody else seems to. So try not to get too attached to him unless we're doing really well.
I haven't checked the championship since my English teams. Yeah, if I'm allowed to say teams. I've been away from Birmingham. I've been away from Birmingham for 41 years. So I've always followed Birmingham. And
some people would say you've done well.
Birmingham City and Aston Villa, and I have done well. So Birmingham
and Villa.
Yeah, and when I was a kid,
how does that work?
Well, when I was a kid, I was just football crazy, and I still am. And 8 years old, you couldn't go to away games by yourself, or manage to drag someone. So I ended up going to Villa one week and Blues the next, which it was always
that's a bit unique.
Still the same. So it was a bit strange when I wore one of those silk scarves on each wrist for each team at the derbies. But
you are the guy that a half and half scarf would be okay for.
I am. It would be amazing.
To find a Villa and Birmingham half and half scarf, though, would probably be quite a task.
Yeah. Well, getting back to Leeds United, sorry. Somebody was asking me what he was like, and I actually said, well, he can pass like Johnny Giles. He can finish like Alan Clark if he's given the chance. He can get around like Billy Bremner. He can dribble and run like Eddie Gray. I'm pushing him too much, but I'd probably
you're making him sound like an absolute superstar baller here. So expectations are going up.
I'd probably take Terry Yorath as the player I'd compare him with, but I'm guessing that a huge percentage of your viewers will not know who I'm talking about anyway, even though they're classy Leeds players of the late 60s and early 70s.
They'll know of him, I imagine, but yeah, a lot of our viewers probably won't have seen him. So
but he's a box-to-box midfielder who can get stuck in and create at the same time. I don't know enough about the current Leeds United setup to know if he's going to start. Do you need that kind of player immediately, or is he going to be on the bench? Or
I think as it stands at the moment, he may get a chance.
Good. So I look forward to seeing him. Destroy a few midfielders but hopefully score a few goals too. And
that's the dream. That's what we want. We like people that get stuck in, people that are passionate, people that aren't afraid to sort of make a tackle and win a ball back, and guys who will grab the game by the scruff of the neck and just get involved. That's what we want, really. That's what we're looking for.
I hope you've got him. I like him.
So do I.
He's in the Japan national team for the last 4 or 5 years, so basically one of the best 30 players in Japan. I'm very happy for him. As I said, I think he's Premier League material. Certainly the Southamptons and the Bournemouths and whatever, as opposed to Manchester City or. Sorry about that. I'm not having that. But I think if he's given the chance and he stays injury free, I think you've got a very good player on your hands.
Excellent. That's what we want to hear, to be honest. As I say, we talked about the fee and stuff, and people seem to be a bit negative in some cases because of the fee, whereas other people are just over the moon that he's coming. So it's quite a mixed bag, and you don't normally get that kind of division. It's normally everybody's like, we don't want that player, or everybody's buzzing that a guy's coming in. Do you think Leeds would be a good move for him, and do you think he'll be looking to be here long term, or do you think it's a stepping stone to hopefully Premier League football for him, whether with us or with someone else?
I think he'll be happy at Leeds and hopefully in the Premier League next season. But if not, then it's up to Leeds or to him how they work it out. I'm not sure how many years he's getting on the contract at the moment, but certainly I know he wanted to play overseas, which he did. I mean, I know a lot of these players, and I've spoken to a lot of these players personally. When they were 17 or 18 and 19, it's really good. Yeah. It's really nice to see these guys get overseas. So I know he wanted to play overseas. England is, from what I'm seeing of the new generation, England seems to be the destination that they want. I mean, a couple of the guys, one who I know quite well, have gone to Birmingham City actually, which is very nice.
Okay, so you'll be pleased about that.
They're in the third division. Sorry, what do you call it? League One.
Yeah, League One. Yeah.
Showing my age again. So they're playing in League One, and they were happy to go there.
Okay.
I don't think it's about the money, but financially, the Japanese system is so that a young player or a player who's played less than 10 games, approximately 900 minutes or so, doesn't even get a professional contract until he's
really
amount, and therefore there's a maximum amount of money he can get until he's played.
Wow.
So it's not like you can Wayne Rooney comes in and everybody wants to buy him, so someone offers him £100,000 a week and he's like 16, because
you can't do that.
So, and that's why so many of these young players, apart from the fact that they want to play overseas, they can make 5 or 10 times as much money as well, even being on the bench in a second or third tier.
That's insane.
The more established players.
That explains a lot.
Tanaka Ao is now established, and I'm sure he's on quite a decent wage, and I hope he'll get a decent wage now too. But about 10, 12 years ago, there was a guy called Yuki Abe, who moved to Leicester City a couple of years before they moved up to the Premier League and then won it with Okazaki. Abe was there and on the bench, and I actually spoke to him, and he was on the bench in Leicester, probably played half the games or so, and didn't let them down. And he was at one of the biggest clubs in Japan when he left, and he was on twice as much money on the bench in the second tier in England.
Than he would be in Japan.
So financially as well, it makes sense for these guys to leave anyway. But I know that, I'm sure there are people in it, just like in any walk of life, that are in it for the money, and you can't blame them. They've got a career up till about 32, 33, 36 if they're lucky, and then they've got to live. So
you've got to make as much as you can. I don't have any problem with players.
Yeah, I don't think
decent wages. You know what I mean?
I don't think Ao's in it for the money, and most of the guys aren't, but there are certainly some, and you can't blame him for that. It's not like Jimmy
No,
Hill
I don't hold it against anyone.
raising the 100-pound barrier back in 1964.
Yeah, real pioneer.
Yeah.
Paved the way for everybody. So, how popular is Tanaka in Japan? Is he someone that people like, or is he a bit under the radar because he's not first choice in the national team?
No, the fact that he's in the squad and he's played 25 times or so in the last 3 or 4 years, they do consider him as a national team player.
Okay.
And the fact that any player that goes overseas, although it's really exploded in the last year, even in the last 6 months, everybody seems to be getting a Japanese player, and it's great. But certainly there are probably, I wouldn't probably be exaggerating if I said that there were now hundreds of people who follow Fortuna Düsseldorf. Because Tanaka was there, and there are thousands of people following Celtic and Brighton. And back in 10 years ago, Shinji Kagawa, who moved to Manchester United and then Borussia Dortmund, or the other way around actually. Borussia Dortmund were actually here a couple of weeks ago, and I was pleased to be invited and met them all, and it was great.
Okay.
And they still,
Oh, that's cool.
Shinji Kagawa, they love Shinji. It was fantastic.
Yeah.
And there are players that go to, I mean, Coventry City have a player called Sakamoto from Japan who's been there a year and a half or something. And the amount, I've seen Coventry shirts in Osaka, where he used to play. So
you'll be seeing some Leeds ones soon.
I hope so, and I believe so. And I was going to say I've seen Aston Villa and Birmingham City shirts, but that's because I've given them to people.
Not sure that counts, to be honest with you.
But Leeds, what number's available? He's number 17 usually. He likes number 17. Is that available?
Do you know? Off the top of my head, I'm not sure. I think it might be.
Sorry about that.
I'd have to check.
Number 17, because they do get attached to their numbers. But he'll take anything he can get, I'm sure, and be very happy.
Let me see. I'll just see if I can find a list of them.
This is live. We take this opportunity to tell you about JSoccer Magazine.
Go for it. I'm just looking up the squad numbers. It looks like it's available because it jumps from Brendan Aronson at 11 to Matteo Joseph at 19. So, he should be able to get that.
Plenty of room there.
17. So, he should be happy as Larry.
I don't think he'll take 12, which is interesting. In Japan, if I can digress to, number 12 is rarely given to a player unless the player particularly requests it. Because number 12 is the supporters, the amount of people wearing number 12 on their back, because they're the 12th man. So Japan.
Oh, right, okay. I like that.
Gives number 12 to the supporters. So
that's cool.
Even the Japan national team rarely has a number 12, except when they're forced to have numbers from 1 to 23 for a squad in the World Cup, for example. But usually the number 12 is it's just got the name of the team on the back or your own name. So it's very cool.
Very cool.
17. And if he gets 17 or whatever he gets, I'm getting myself a Leeds shirt.
Well, consider yourself a friend of the pod now, Alan. Now you've been on. So if you need any help with that, we'll help you out. And I mean, that kind of sort of brings us to a close, really, because we're a bit limited for time here. I know it's late there, and you need to.
I went on a bit. Sorry about that.
Yeah, it's all right. No, it's all good. But once again, I really appreciate your time for coming on and just giving us a little bit of a picture about him. And if you just want to let people know where they can find you, and we'll put a link to your Twitter or X in the description. Yeah, I'm at JSoccer Magazine on Twitter or X. I have my own website, jsoccer.com, which is basically Japanese football, the Wikipedia. We don't try and keep up with the news or anything, but if you want to learn the history of why Kawasaki Frontale wear blue and black shirts, or how to get to their ground or whatever, everything about Japanese football at jsoccer.com. Or please buy a JSoccer magazine. Keep us in business. That's it. Go take a look. I'll be following you. And if you ever want to talk about 1970 to 72 Leeds United, then get me back on. Absolutely, and that could happen sooner than you think. Thanks again for coming on, Alan, and I will hopefully speak to you again at some point. Thank you. My pleasure. Cheers.